Welcome back. What's up, everyone? Happy Monday. What are we talking about today? We are talking about...
We're reminiscing.
Yeah, we're going to reminisce.
Ooh, ooh.
Let's talk about how Hello Hair came
Hope I
even
can remember.
to be. It was only 4
I think
years
I blacked
ago.
out part of it.
How come?
It was rough.
Yeah.
Rough patch in my life.
A little rough patch.
a
little
down in the dumps. It was a little rough. Coming out from the flames.
So...
Some daggers being thrown my way.
Yeah. So...
You know.
I don't know where you want to start with this, because we've actually had people ask, like, how did you guys decide to have a salon? How did you decide to get into hair? How did you decide to have a salon with your husband or with your wife? And how does that fucking work?
That's a loaded question.
You know? So here's what I'll say. And we can fast forward sort of. Jen, you had a salon with a business partner for 10 years. That lined up with the same 10 years that I had my gym. I was done with the gym world just because I was like, I'm over this. So I closed that business and I went to work at your salon. Yes. Not doing hair, but in sort of a... Is that my phone?
Yep.
That's my don't forget to pick up one of your kids' alarms that I actually don't even need on today because he's staying late at school. Anyways... Jen had a salon with a business partner. I left my business, closed it down, went to work for them as sort of like someone to help take the business to the next level. Yeah. You I think had, I don't want to talk for you, you can talk about it, but I think you had a vision for where you wanted to go. It ended up differing a lot bit from your business partner.
Yes.
I left that business and then you left that business.
Yes.
And then you had a whole bunch of stuff that happened because when you have a business partner and you part ways, it's not always super smooth. We can leave it at...
Especially if you don't have a contract with that business partner, then it gets really messy.
Yeah, it gets messy and it teaches
you... A lot of people have asked me, like, would I have a partner again? Obviously, you're my partner. It's a little bit different. And I don't have an opinion on partnerships. I think it depends on who you are. I do say moving forward, if you're about to have a partnership in a business, you need an attorney and you need an exit strategy before you begin. Because when you're ready to exit, if you don't have a strategy in place, it's a fucking hot mess. And pretty much all the rules are off the table and it just is shitty. So don't do what I did, learn from my mistakes, and make sure you have everything that's needed for the business to operate, to run, and then also the exit strategy for both partners or any partners involved in the business, which can evolve over time, but you need that to start, period. So yes, we exited that business. It's funny because some people, like, I'll joke, you know, if I don't like my day or whatever, like, well, you can't quit your business. I'm like, I sure as fuck can. I did before. And they're like, what? I'm like, quit my last business and I can quit my next one if I need to. Like, don't even challenge me. But it's being funny. But all things said, I left that business for a vision that I had of where I wanted to be as a stylist, where I wanted to be as an owner, where I wanted to be as coaching staff, just so many things that I wasn't feeling I would be ever able to do under that roof with that partnership.
There's a great first lesson right there. Always protect yourself. It does not matter if you're best friends with this person. Nope. It does not matter if you've been doing hair next to them for the last 25 years and you guys are like, let's open a salon. It'll be awesome. Something will happen at some point, 95% of the time. And especially where there's money involved and there's an investment involved and there's people put value. There's not a lot of external value in this, but people put a lot of value into their effort,
right? Into
their blood, sweat, and tears, into the, you know, working late and all that stuff. Like, people think there's more value in that than there is. And you don't want to get into a sticky situation.
Right.
So protect yourself.
Learn from my past.
Now, before we left there, your plan was to relocate your business.
Yes. At the time, we were...
Because I remember I wrote a proposal for a company and we had several meetings with developers.
Yeah, the building we were at was getting older. The traffic patterns out front had changed, like the town had grown. And it was just looking like it was time to move. And
it was difficult to get into from one side of the road. I don't think you could really get into it unless you
get in or out. Yeah, you had to go through a gas station. And
yeah, it was really tough because it was like almost on the on-ramp to the highway.
Correct.
So people were speeding up to get to highway speed there and you have people trying to come across, and it was, yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, I think the idea of moving sounded great. It looked pretty. Having anything brand new is always like, I don't know, to me it would be, it's just awesome. But it's what also started the next chapter, because once we sat down and looked at pretty and new, we realized we knew, but we realized how not great our financial situation was with our current business. So we didn't have a lot to really move with. We didn't have a lot to do what we were hoping to do. And when presented with that, my other partner didn't care, like take out all the loans, whatever. And I didn't want to be in debt for the next 10 years. So that really started the beginning of the divide of where her vision was going here and mine was going in a different direction. And that's pretty much how I presented it. You can have that. It's all yours. Go for it. It's just not for me. But, people get salty and
Greedy.
don't always do things professionally. So although it didn't have to end as it did, it was because, I don't know, it's just how people are, I guess.
Yeah.
But
so
bigger and better things.
Fast forward, this is kind of funny, but so we had gone through pretty much a lot of the design process and figuring out like aesthetic and branding and some of that stuff. In a general, there was no Hello Hair at that point. That's not what the business was going to continue to be the same.
We were like
business
making the concept of what the feel was, what it looked like under a roof together. Just so many things like that needed to occur.
So then fast forward, I don't know how long, a couple months maybe. And we were at an event in Boston. And it was so funny because I was not a barber then. I had never done hair. I didn't really consider it, but I think you had joked about it a couple times. And I really wanted to, one of my goals was to build a business with my wife. So I really wanted to build something with Jen. And at the event, I had like several people ask me like, hey, do you do hair? Where do you work? And I'm like, no, I'm just at this hair event. And I was like, it's kind of weird actually that I'm here. Why am I even here? But I liked the people, So meeting all the people that were cool. And I was introduced to a bunch of people and it felt cool. So I was like, oh, whatever. And so I had met one person and I remember she asked me, Todd, do you do hair? And I said, no. And she said, you will. And I was like, I don't even know how to take that, but here we are. And then on the ride home, Boston, if you don't know, from us is about 45-ish minutes, maybe an hour. It's 3 hours with traffic. So on the ride home, you were like, what if you were a barber? I was a stylist and we worked together. We built a, I don't want to say.
I think the hair world is kind of its like own craziness, and I kind of was like, if you were to be doing some hair, you could understand, I feel, sort of the inner workings of it rather than just being in there running a business.
Yeah, I agree. So
that was kind of where I was coming from and hope that you could maybe understand sort of like the world I see, like that I live in and have been in for a long time.
Well, it allows me to speak the language.
Yeah.
Because I know what people are going through. I'm behind the chair like 1.5 times a week and everything makes more sense to me than if I wasn't behind the chair, not have that insight that I have. So I signed up for barber school like that week, right? Maybe. So this was a fairly fast process. So
generally what we like to do.
I started barbering school in Concord or in whatever the little town next to Concord is. I always forget it. It's technically not Concord, but anyway, so I start barber school and I start building a salon business, which was kind of weird because there's not a lot of people in barbering or cosmetology school that are building businesses. So normally you're just trying to learn the basics. So that process was, I don't even know. That whole thing was like a whirlwind because we got hit with COVID.
Yeah. That was interesting because we found space. It needed to be gutted. It had been a salon.
Well, I looked at a couple other spaces too, and they were like either awful or they were like, there's another salon in this plaza, so we're not going to allow you to come in and look at it. Even though since then they have allowed multiple salons to build out in their plaza, but either way.
Wouldn't phase us either way. Put a bunch in there.
No,
Everyone's different.
Yeah.
But this one sort of, I guess, worked because the plumbing was there. So permit wise made it a little bit less stressful. It needed to be gutted because it was disgustingly old and gross and smelled. And it needed a new look.
So when Jen says gutted, we took it
down to the cement,
down to concrete, down to the foundation, and most walls, or a good amount of walls, came down to the studs.
Yes. Yep.
So go ahead.
And then we rebuilt it. I didn't rebuild it. You did. But it was what?
We had a team. We assembled a team.
Yeah.
We had some kick-ass people. Yeah.
Thank the Lord, because those people kept me sane. I think the process there, one thing I remembered, and I said this to you earlier, was this is so funny because we talk about like the paint doesn't matter. But one day Todd had called me and he's like, the paint's fucking green. It's supposed to be gray, right? He's like, it's army green or like sage green. I don't even know. It's just green. So our friend was like, you have to finish painting the wall before you can reprime it. So I'm like, just finish painting it, come home, we'll go in the morning, we'll figure it out. And luckily we go back in the morning, paint's all dried and he got the first coat down and it was a gorgeous gray, but it's going next to a yellow wall. So imagine like army green and like bright yellow, it really wouldn't have worked. That was one of the few things that just were like, could have put us over the edge, maybe got divorced, like just wanted to cry, like just paint. But like at that point, everything was just really stressful. Not really. The other thing that was kind of funny, that's not funny. It was not funny then, funny now. Our sinks got stuck in the ocean on a boat because it was COVID-19 and they didn't know if our sinks like had COVID or something coming from Italy. So they wouldn't allow them onto the United States soil.
Our barbering chairs were out there too.
Sounds ridiculous, but this was real life. Like, are we actually going to be able to get our stuff over? And then there was this fear of, or this talk of closing all like state borders in the United States. So then once
that's not a thing.
It could never happen. But everybody was freaking out at this time.
There's this little thing called the Constitution. And
I totally get it. But this was being talked about. And so our stuff finally was able to come into either New Jersey or New York. And so basically our guy got a U-Haul and was like, we have till this weekend to make sure we can get it to you out of the States in case things change, like whatever. So everything was so weird and crazy and stressful. And then the week we were supposed to open, we were shut down because it was COVID. But here we are.
Why don't we go back and touch on how...
Sure, those were my stresses.
Yeah, so even before that, we had worked with a designer.
Yes.
To help us sort of create the aesthetic and the vibe, because it's easy, I think it's sometimes easy to just dump a bunch of stuff in a space that you think you like how it looks. And then when you get in there, you're like, there's no workflow. This sucks. Like, and it's difficult to then change stuff. I mean, it's not difficult, but we wanted to avoid that whole process or avoid as much of it as possible.
Which takes being super mindful and having a lot of walkthroughs and a lot of conversations and a lot of eyes on a project to make sure everything is moving in the right direction.
Yeah, and it ended up being a lot of meetings at coffee shops and a lot of drawing on napkins and a lot of measuring countertops and just things to double check and to make sure, because you already mentioned that this place was a salon before, but it was in rough shape. It was bad.
Yeah, and then we wanted an aesthetic look. I think you had said that. And part of that when we were building...
Aesthetic means look. So we definitely wanted an aesthetic look.
An aesthetic look, I'm going to still say it.
Do you mean something specific? Is that what you're trying to say, Mrs. Ford?
Well, yeah, I definitely had an idea in my head. And then we realized all of the electrical came from the ceiling. So then it was like, how do we get that into this idea of what we wanted for our styling like station and make it look nice and like it was supposed to be there, not just like some people put like PVC coming down from the ceiling into their stations to get the electrical there. So we also had to come up with a creative way of making everything look cohesive, but also being functional for the way the electrical was set up in this building, which all came together quite fantastically. Actually.
Yeah, it was fabricated into the piece. So it worked out well.
Really cool.
How did we come up with Hello and the concept? Want to talk about that?
Sure. I'm not sure I remember clearly all of it, but...
I remember how we came up with the name. The vibe that we were going for was the same vibe as we had just created for the salon that you were leaving. Mm-hmm. Because our goal was to relocate that one and update it. Your salon,
modernize.
Yeah, your salon was there for like 10 years and you had done some stuff here and there, but and we learned a lot from that project too, because that project was like a 14-day fly by the seat of your pants.
Yeah.
We pretty much gutted that place too.
Mm-hmm.
This project was going to take a little longer. I think we had given ourselves 3 months to upfit the space, have everything in and build it out. But we had been working for a few months before that, just toying with ideas. Like if we had a business, if we had this, what would it look like? So we already had the aesthetic. We already had like the visual components of what we wanted the space to look like.
Clean, modern, minimalistic, like
not full of tchotchkes and random chandeliers and stuff. The name of the salon, Hello Hair, was 2-part. It was something that I thought about and I think presented to you, maybe. And you were like, I love it. So for me, it was easy because I was coming into the hair world. So it was like, hello, hair. Like, here I am, welcome, Todd, whatever. And for you, I feel like you had not fallen out of love with hair, but you weren't educating, which you love to do. You weren't really coaching a team, which I knew you wanted to do, but it got to a point where you just weren't doing those things.
Right.
And so for you,
just get by.
The hello was more of like oh, hello, hair. Like, I'm here again.
I'm back. Let's do this.
And whenever I explain that to people, they're like, wow, that's pretty cool. And
I needed to be re-energized.
Yeah. And I think it's pretty cool too. So,
and that's where you had then presented the color or a pop of color, which if anyone knows my last salon, it was just very earthy, which I love earthy. Don't get me wrong. It's actually, I love earthy, but in this case, I wanted to remind myself every day walking in that I was there to have fun too, like to not take myself so seriously, to not take everything so at face value and just like, I don't know, kind of punch me in the face, like get it together and we're going to have fun today and you're going to be creative and you're going to do great hair and you're in this because you love it. And that's where this kind of idea of the bright yellow as accents in the business was a great reminder of that. And still to this day, like just, and everybody says it, I feel like that comes in, like, it just makes me happy. And I'm like, that's the point, was to just make everybody happier, remind yourselves that a smile can change your whole entire day. As cheesy as that sounds, but what does it for me?
I was looking through some like just photos for inspiration, and I'm pretty sure I saw a school bus in like a photo somewhere. And I remember we were sitting in our living room and I said, Jen, it was time to pick colors. We were getting towards that point. And it was probably still like a few steps out, because when you're building out a business, you really don't want to wait for something to be done before you start the next thing. You need to be there sort of planning and making it happen. And I was like, Jen, what's the happiest color you can think of? And she was like, yellow. And I was like, perfect. And what goes good with yellow? I did a quick research and I was like, we need a gray and yellow with, we knew we wanted a lot of white and just bright welcomingness, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a word, but we wanted people to see that the space was clean, and white helps with that. But we didn't want it to be sterile. We didn't want it to feel like a hospital. So we wanted to add those bright sort of punchy accents.
It's like pops.
And then we wanted to, even though we were modern, we wanted to have the nods to the past. So we put a lot of consideration into like the artwork, and some of the artwork, it's not anything that's crazy, but it's from the past. There's some photos we have, or some prints that look like, all old mobsters standing outside of a barbershop. There's, I don't remember who she is, but my favorite photo, there's a chick with the striped socks sitting under
that's a good one. With the old school dryer on her head.
with the old school dryer. She's an old actress or a model. I think someone told me who she was.
I don't remember.
You found a picture of a chair, of a dryer maybe? Or was it a styling chair?
It's just a chair that was found in an old building.
Like a condemned building.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So you got that photo. I think you found the magazine. There was a magazine article from back in the day. So I pulled that apart and I framed it. So that's on there. Our barbering chairs are brand new. They're modern, but they are definitely old school. Like they have that retro sort of vibe, feel. Like old school barbershop. And that was important to us because, again, it balances out. We wanted balance. We didn't want just this bright white, super modern salon that was empty and had no emotion. But we also didn't want to, like Jen said, fill it with like tchotchkes and
everything has meaning,
knickknacks.
or like it's a really mindful approach. And if anybody knows me personally, I definitely have a spaz approach. I feel like I'm like, oh, look, a butterfly. Oh, that's so pretty. I like that. So this was a little difficult, like for my brain, because it's easy to be like, oh, but I like that color. Oh, but I like that print. And it's like, no, we have a focus here. We have, at that point, we had like our core values, our mission, like everything pretty much laid out. And then the plan of the aesthetic. So it was really, it kept my brain aligned, and it was cool to kind of, I guess, like sort of Zen mode and like, does this work? And every time I would look for prints, and before I would do it, like check with Todd, like just to make sure I'm like still there, because it's very easy for you to like, nope, I got it. And then you're like, nope, but now I'm over here. No, like this is where we're at. And when it all came together, it was just amazing. And it was so cool. And I love the like modern approach with some of those like nods to the old stuff. And it really just brought it all together and made it feel cozy without it being, like you said, like tchotchke, or just putting all this stuff in it.
Yeah, the last space that was in there, they had that huge monstrosity for a desk and like a
The
paper.
desk was bigger than me, like taller than my head.
No, it wasn't.
It was, I couldn't see over it.
You're way exaggerating.
Well, in my world, how I remember it, the desk was as tall as me.
It was huge, and I wish I actually might have a video somewhere of it when we tore it out.
Huge.
It took 3 people to tear that out of there. It was solid. It was tiled. Anyways, and it had like a really weird like paper, like chandelier thing over the desk.
Mm-hmm.
So we took that out, and our goal was always to have a salon where the staff is really connecting with the clients. Mm-hmm. And everyone talks about culture and community and all these things. And instead of talk about it, we wanted to actually create something, tangible, I guess. We pretty much eliminated the front desk and we put in a podium, super minimalist. Mm-hmm. It doesn't even have a phone on it. The phone's behind it. Mm-hmm. And it has a computer desk to check out clients. That's it. That's all we wanted really to happen there. We wanted everything else to mostly happen in the chair, if it could.
Yes.
It's not perfect, but that was our vision. Over that, we put like an old school sort of, what are those called? Like the Edison bulb.
Yes. Yes.
So it's got this modern sort of, and if this isn't your aesthetic, that's totally cool. I get it, but it's not your salon. So apply this to shit that you like. But like I found this, it's like a gunmetal modern sort of just cord that hangs down and you screw the bulb in instead of having this ornate thing, because I like simple as well. I think there's value in ornate stuff, but I'm more into the basic. So with that bulb, it creates, again, sort of a nod to the past, I guess, because it looks old fashioned, yet it's in a modern fixture over a modern sort of setup. Mm-hmm. So I guess we were just mindful to try to, every time, like you said, having someone to bounce stuff off of, like when I was going to do something, when I chose obviously the colors, to have a partner to keep you in check is, I think, a great thing, because it's the constant back to the core values. Like, and when they're that fresh, and we talk about them all the time, so they should stay fresh on your mind. But that was the next thing we did. So we always got to visit those core values. And then I don't know whose idea it was, but one of us said, we need the core value. I think it might have been yours. And you were like, we need the core values like up somewhere. And at first I hated it.
Yeah.
Because I was like, that's what every fucking company does. They post their core values. No one ever looks at them. They collect dust, right? Which is the opposite of me. I'm a geek. I go into places and I can tell you where their mission statement is if it's posted out there. We took our core values, and we had defined what they meant to us. Obviously, if you look up the word education or growth or whatever other core values we have, you can find different definitions. Different dictionaries have different definitions. You look online, there's new definitions to words all the time. Things are constantly being updated. So what we did was we not only printed out the core values and made artwork out of them, we consolidated or curated really a definition of what the word meant to us as not just business owners, but as human beings. Integrity is on there, and I don't think anybody could argue, like, if you live your life with more integrity than not, that's better for you, and the other stuff too is important. We don't have to go into all the details, but you know what I mean? So anyways, that was a major part of,
and it looks awesome.
Everything, designing that area, designing the whole space, decorating it, naming it, What else? What did we miss? I know we ran into a lot of shit with COVID. Like at one point, you were like, "Are we close to being able to open?" And so the answer was no, because they were shutting businesses down. But I couldn't get those freaking ceiling tiles. I was like, I can't get ceiling tiles, Jen. I don't know if we should open without a ceiling. And I needed I think we needed like 5. Like I need 5 ceiling tiles there. You couldn't get anything. So
yeah, it was rough.
We had to wait. We eventually opened Memorial Day.
Yeah, right around there.
Around Memorial Day,
like 2 weeks after we were able to actually open, but we had never been in our space and we had never worked in our space. So we didn't figure out our workflow with everything that was new thrown at us, but also we are all in a new space. So how does this work and what does this look like even on a regular day prior to COVID? Never mind now opening, we're in the middle of it. So
sure. And so that took some time. The staff that we opened with had never worked in that space. Some of the people had worked for you at your last salon, and they had, like, for example, worked with the hairdryer. We have freestyle systems, whatever, overhead dryers. So we wanted to give our staff the opportunity, if they hadn't, to work with those. We had decided to, because this was going to be really educational or education focused, and really we wanted clients to feel like an part of the experience, we had decided to put our color bar out on the floor, which was the opposite of how you had in your last salon. In your last salon, it was, you could run out to the color bar and there was like a door. So
originally, and then it was out on the floor, but it still was in a cabinet.
Yeah, that's right. Because you had moved it around. Yeah, I remember that. Okay.
But not as open concept as what we have.
Right. And so that was important to us. But also we had people that hadn't done that. They hadn't mixed color out in front of a client. So what does that feel like? What does that look like? And we wanted to give them an opportunity to run through with some, family, friends, whatever. We did like a soft opening.
And with all the tech we brought on, there was lots of things to learn through that also. So
yeah, color management system was new. Yeah. Mixing the color was new. We brought on Ping from EcoHeads.
Well, I had said to you with sanitizing, this was even prior to COVID.
Oh, that's where I was going to go. Go ahead.
Most stylists are just disgusting. I don't care if you think you're clean or not. I'm going to tell you most of you are not. And so I had said to Todd, you need to find a way, or you need to help create a system here, we do together, on making it really easy, seamless, simple, so that it's not intimidating and we don't know what we're doing. I think a lot of people think they know how to clean their stuff, but they don't actually know, and they maybe do it without even thinking about it. But yeah, you're probably doing it wrong. So Todd came up with this great system. We have a few different ways that we do it, but we were able to show the staff really quickly. And even they were like, wow, this is amazing. This is so easy. And now we know we're using like the cleanest stuff possible. And at the most perfect time, because it needed to happen anyway. So it actually helped really be strict about it
with COVID,
and not
right?
allow for pushback. Yeah, because we're going to get shut down if we don't do it this way. And nobody could really say anything about it. And before you knew it, some of these stylists, we had worked together before and they weren't clean. And then now they were top notch.
Yeah. So you're welcome, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've even had the state board come in and compliment us on that stuff. So
even just recently when she came in, she's like, I have never seen a barber shop or salon this clean. And I was like, wow, that's great. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Because that was one of the things
that's a high standard for us. Yeah.
That we take pride in is to provide that for not just the clients. I think people get that twisted too. When you're an owner, you're providing an atmosphere for your staff too. So if you're struggling to hire, ask yourself some questions, right? Like maybe you need to update stuff. Maybe you need to, I don't know, have a direction. Because there are a lot of salons that you walk in and you're like, what direction? What are they doing? I don't even know what's happening. I think that's probably good. Is there anything else I don't want to talk about the COVID stuff. It was a pain in the ass to open during COVID. We get it. We had to remove stations because it needed to be 6 feet. We get it. No one wants to talk about that. So,
but
here we are. All right.
Hopefully you enjoyed the journey.
Yeah. We'll be back next week I don't know when this is going to air. Anyways, love you guys. Thanks. Bye.
Peace.